We're making Greek Dolmades, stuffed with lamb and rice, topped with authentic Avgolemono sauce. Delicious. Any vegetable you want to stuff, you can use this meat filling. You don't have to use the grape leaves. I'm going to show you how to take it from step 1 to step 4. And they're going to come out delicious and beautiful just like this if you watch how I do it. We hope you join us on this one. All right, today we're making Greek Dolmades. We're using 100% lamb. It's a stuffed grape leaf. It's baked in chicken broth, lemon juice, filled with lamb, rice. It's very similar to a meatball filling, but you add raw rice to it, so when it bakes, the rice expands, sucks up all that delicious juice. We're making our mix today. We're going to be stuffing it into grape leaves, so let's just get started. First thing I want to do is, in this recipe is onion. And this is the old Cuisinart from years ago before they were invented. You can do this with tomatoes, onions. But normally when you make a meat stuffing, you cook the onion with a little bit of oil. But we're not going to be doing that for this Dolmades. You can chop this onion up and put it in your Cuisinart and puree it. Or you could do it old school like this. Great, just like a piece of cheese. What this does is it breaks the onion down, so as it cooks, it'll disappear. And all you'll be left with is the flavor of the onion. Now you can mix this by hand or you can mix it in a mixer. I use a mixer because I want to make sure everything gets mixed in there, but you can see how this onion is just completely broken down. I'm going to add fresh garlic that I've chopped, fresh ground black pepper, fresh squeezed lemon juice, kosher salt, 24-ounce cup here of fresh breadcrumbs. Don't use dry. Use freshly ground bread. Don't dry it all. Don't toast it. It'll soak up more liquid than you want for this recipe. I use Pomodoro sauce, which I make, which is a bland tomato sauce that isn't seasoned, and it's strained of all the skins and seeds. We're going to use a pint for this recipe. We're adding a pint of whole milk. We're adding 8 eggs. We're adding 1 cup of fresh Italian parsley, chopped dill, and then I got fresh mint that's chopped up rough as well. Kind of big pieces. Last but not least, my rice. I'm using converted rice, same rice you would use for rice pilaf. We use a paddle when we mix this. Make sure your mixer's on low. You turn it on and off when you're first starting so that stuff doesn't pop out on you. Make sure that egg and that milk get incorporated before you go to a full mix. This is a force meat. With gyros, we like to overmix the meat because we want to build up the proteins and make it stretchy and rubbery. When you're making meatballs, you don't want to mix too much because you don't want your meatballs to bounce off the table. You want them tender. With the Dolmades, you want them kind of in between. You want to mix it well, but you don't want to overmix it because you still want them tender. Still stands up. That acid helps bring everything together. The grape leaves come in jars. They usually stack them and wrap them. And quite honestly, this is what takes the most time about making Dolmades is because you've got to unwrap the grape leaves and get them stem side up, the inside of the leaf up. You know, and these half grape leaves you use to put in your pan where the Dolmades are going to go. So you don't do those pans ahead of time. You use the half pieces or the broken grape leaves for that. So that's why I lay what I'm going to do on the table first. Now this grape leaf is kind of sparse, so I'm going to use that for the bottom of my pan. You want to make sure that they're fully opened. Now they don't look like much when they're in the jar, but once you unfold them, you can see that what comes out is a nice full grape leaf. And then we grab as much filling as we have as leaf. You know, for like this leaf, we use a little more filling. But this leaf is a little bit smaller, so we use a little bit less. We get these stuffed. Like I said, the amount of filling depends on how big the leaf is. These get rolled and put into a pan that has a plate in it, keeps it off the bottom of the pan so the bottom row doesn't overcook while it's in the oven. Kind of resembles a steamer. And what that'll help us do is get that grape leaf tender. And now rolling these up is very similar to a burrito. You want to get that back end up, fold in the edges, and roll like so. And we want to make sure we get that as tight as possible. So we get that meat tucked into that back end of that leaf, and then we roll with the sides folded in. And this is why dolmades are quite pricey, because they're very labor intensive. I found that the California grape leaf is the most tender that I've worked with, but certainly grape leaves from overseas are good. You know, if it tears like that, don't worry, because what's going to happen is it's going to cook into a very firm meatball inside of that grape leaf. Once it's cooked, it'll be firm and the filling won't come out. See, we got a little scrap of leaf there. We use that for one of our pans. You notice how I drag it along the table, along that folded side, like so. And then what would happen is the person that's doing the leaves would start laying down leaves right now. We take these rolled dolmades and we put them on top of our grape leaves that we've set on top of our plate. We get those placed in there like so, and we continue to roll as someone else is unfolding more grape leaves. So this becomes a process where we're always moving, we're always rolling, we're always unfolding grape leaves. So it's like when we made these at the restaurant, I'd have the two dishwashers and the salad cook, and we would all take 1 hour out of our day to roll the dolmades. You know, there's a lot of cost here on making these. So if you're going to do these, I put together a home recipe that'll yield you about 3.5 pounds of filling. And if you don't do the grape leaves, you can still do this recipe with stuffed peppers or cabbage leaves. This is exactly how I make my cabbage roll stuffing as well. Instead of cooking it in chicken broth for the cabbage leaves, I'll cook it in that Pomodoro sauce that I showed you earlier that I put into this mix. A nice neutral tomato sauce that's thin and strained, or even a watered down marinara will work. If I was using it for stuffed peppers, I would use the same tomato sauce for the stuffed peppers. And I'd cut the tops off and fill the peppers with this filling, or I'd cut them in half lengthwise and do like an open-faced stuffed pepper. So this filling can be used for peppers, for cabbage leaves, or for grape leaves, or anything else you want to stuff. My mother has stuffed dolmade filling in zucchini halves, because my grandfather always used to grow zucchini, and we always had zucchinis at the house. So not only would she stuff peppers, she would stuff onions, she would stuff zucchini flowers. So we're going to get no more than 2 layers of grape leaves. Okay, so we've got down to the last 2 here. We got about 140, 130 dolmades here. I got fresh lemon juice. I got my chicken broth. So I got about 2 ounces of lemon, about 8 ounces of chicken broth. Then we put leaves on top. This protects our grape leaves from getting burned in the oven from the steam. They'll discolor if you don't cover the grape leaves with grape leaves. So it's an important step here. Then we have a piece of baking paper. We got this on a sheet pan with paper. I got like 2 or 3 layers. So it helps us because we will get a little cook off on that. It just makes it easier for us to wash the pan when we're done. So now we double foil the top. And we make sure this is on very tight. We want these dolmades to steam in that lemon juice and chicken broth and all the juices that are coming out of the lamb and the seasonings we used in there. And that's it. The dolmas now are ready to go in the oven for 2 hours. I got the oven at 375. And like I said, 2 hours and then an hour sitting in their juice, covered. Don't uncover them. We pulled the dolmades out. We let them sit for an hour. What I do is I'll take up a corner here, the leaves that protected the grape leaves. So we're going to pour any juice that we have left over in here into our chicken broth. I've got 2 cups of chicken broth in here. In the blender over there, I've got 4 ounces of lemon juice, 6 eggs, 1 cup of chicken broth cold, a little bit of salt and pepper, and 2 tablespoons of flour. And that's my liaison. As you can see on the side of the pan here, all that lemon juice and chicken broth that we used in the pan pretty much got absorbed. This chicken broth here I've got at a slow simmer. And I'm going to bring it over to my liaison. We're going to get this going. The reason we do this in a blender is we want to make this frothy. So as we're blending, we add the simmering chicken broth to temper this. We want to get these eggs warmed up so they don't get shocked and cooked when we pour it back into here. It would give this a good notice how we've got a nice frothy mixture. That's what we're looking for. So we come back over here and we're going to add this liaison and we're going to mix this until it starts to get thick, but we don't want to bring this to a boil. And this will happen really quickly, so it should just take a minute or so. And you can't walk away from something like this. This is something that you've got to stand here and cook it until you get it to the texture that you want. Well, what's going to happen here is the eggs are going to start cooking and the flour is going to start thickening up our sauce, and we're going to have an egg lemon sauce, an Avgolemono sauce. Doing the process of tempering the liaison and adding it to our stock is called Avgolemono. As you can see, we're starting to get some thickness here. So we're getting close. See how that's starting to get thick? That's done. So we turn the heat off. What we do is, if you're doing a plate of dolmades for an appetizer for a group of people, put your dolmades on the plate. My mother used to like to serve them in a bowl. That would be one order in the restaurant. As you can see, look how that sauce, look how thick it is. And it's very frothy. It's very airy. That's perfect Avgolemono sauce. It's very similar to the way we make the Avgolemono soup. And fresh dill and fresh Italian parsley is what we garnish with, and a little fresh ground pepper. These are our dolmades. You can see that these grape leaves are tender now. You get yourself some juice. Delicious. Like I said, you could stuff cabbage leaves, peppers, tomatoes, onions, zucchini. This is a delicious recipe from home. And I hope you give it a try. It's easy.